For decades, one tiny block in Hong Kong was the most densely populated place on the entire planet. You've probably heard of it, Kowloon Walled City. It was called the City of Darkness, this lawless labyrinth of crime and chaos. But was it really? Today we're going to peel back the layers of myth to find the incredible truth. Let's get into it.
So right off the bat, you have this massive paradox. To the outside world, it was a den of vice, a place run by gangs, full of opium dens and shady clinics. But if you talk to the thousands of people who actually lived there, they'll tell you it was a sanctuary, a super tight-knit community, a place they called home. So how on earth could it be both of those things at the same time?
Well, the crazy part is, this city was never even supposed to exist. It was a complete accident, a geopolitical fluke that created this total void on the map.
Okay, so how did this happen? It all goes back to 1898. Britain leases a huge chunk of land from China, right? But this tiny little walled fort was specifically left out. It was supposed to remain a Chinese enclave. Then, after World War II, refugees just flooded the place. And here is the absolute key. Neither Britain nor China wanted to step in and police it. They were both afraid of causing a huge diplomatic incident. The result? A truly sovereignless zone, a place with no government.
And this created a city with, this literally, no rules. Just think about that for a second. No taxes, no building codes, no health inspectors, no official water or electricity. It was a total blank slate where the normal laws of city life just completely vanished.
So with no authority, no architects, no city planners, how did this place even get built? It's this incredible story of organic engineering, a true monolith built entirely from the ground up by the people who lived there.
You're not going to believe this, but the city had only one building restriction. Just one. Because it sat right under the flight path for the infamous Kai Tak Airport, buildings couldn't go higher than 14 stories. You could practically reach out and touch the jumbo jets from the rooftops. That was it. That was the only rule. With no other rules, people just kept building, upwards, outwards, connecting their apartment to their neighbors, and over time, more than 300 separate buildings all fused together into one gigantic, monolithic structure, a true vertical labyrinth. It was so tangled and interconnected, you could cross the entire city block without ever touching the ground. Seriously, you duck into one building, climb this wild network of makeshift stairs and ladders, and then just walk across the rooftops on these rickety sky bridges to get where you were going. All while the streets below were just these dark, narrow, dripping alleys that never saw the sun. But this is where the story really takes a turn, because if you only focus on the chaotic buildings, you miss the most important part, the amazing human community that somehow thrived inside of it all. They found a kind of harmony right in the middle of the chaos. This quote from someone who used to live there, it just stops you in your tracks. In the walled city, the sunshine always followed the people. It completely flips that whole city of darkness myth on its head, right? It tells you that the light wasn't physical, it was social. It came from the community itself. And that community was really forged in these shared spaces. The apartments were tiny, they were dark, so life just spilled out onto the rooftops. That became the city's town square. It was the only place to get a breath of fresh air, for kids to play or do their homework, for neighbors to hang out. It was the city's shared backyard. The city also grew its own really powerful microeconomy. Without the cost of licenses or regulations, all kinds of businesses just flourished. Get this, at one point, a huge portion of all of Hong Kong's fish balls were made right here. It became this hub for small factories and businesses that just couldn't afford the rent and all the red tape anywhere else. And a perfect example of this was Dentist Row. You had dozens of dentists, a lot of them highly skilled, but maybe they didn't have the right British paperwork, so they set up shop here, and they provided really essential, affordable dental care to working-class people from all over Hong Kong who couldn't get it anywhere else. You see this incredible spirit of ingenuity with the basic utilities, too. So for water, no problem. The residents dug over 700 wells and then rigged up this crazy web of electric pumps and pipes to get water up to tanks on the roofs. And for electricity, well, they just borrowed it. They tapped right into the Hong Kong city grid with thousands of tangled, chaotic wires. It was a city that literally built its own infrastructure from scratch. But, of course, a city like this couldn't last forever. The lack of sanitation, the risk of fire, it was a ticking time bomb. And that brings us to the final chapter, the demolition of the city, and the strange birth of its digital ghost.
By the late 1980s, the government decided the risk was just too great. After a pretty tough resettlement process, the entire city was demolished by 1994. If you go there today, it's a beautiful, peaceful park. But here's the wild twist. Just as the real city vanished, its ghost started to take over our imagination. It became the main inspiration for the entire cyberpunk look.
I mean, the city's visual legacy is just immense. That claustrophobic, layered, high-tech meets low-life reality, the neon signs glowing against decaying concrete, the endless chaotic wiring. It became the visual blueprint for all these dystopian futures in movies like Ghost in the Shell and so many other sci-fi worlds. The walled city basically became a symbol for a future it never even got to see.
So where does that leave us? The concrete is gone, sure, it's a park now. But the legend of Kowloon Walled City is more powerful than ever, and it forces us to ask some really big questions. What can this impossible, accidental city teach us about how humans create community in the most chaotic situations imaginable? What's the real line between order and freedom? It's a story that keeps challenging everything we think we know about what makes a city, and maybe more importantly, what makes a home.